Inside Blitz Week 18. We've made it through the entire season, and I'm going to be the Arizona Cardinals representative on the show, where I'm here, but I'm not really here. I've had way too much sleep this week, and it has given me the worst brain fog I've ever had. I'm going to throw it over to Theodore and Ron. Over to you, Ted, first. Which games are we going to be talking about? I know we've got a great interview.
Yeah, New England Patriots at Buffalo, and obviously the focus is all on the Bills this week and moving forward in Arizona at San Francisco for our late game, which doesn't mean a whole lot to Arizona, of course. It means absolutely nothing, and it might be the end of the reign of their coach, TBD there. But let's talk about the Patriots and Bills. This has been an unbelievably emotional week, all-timer for the National Football League. Coming off that Monday night game, that was something we had talked about last week, and we didn't even have to mention the fact that it was a fascinating matchup. It was something that the entire league was looking forward to. It means a lot for the AFC. It means a lot for credibility moving forward. Both teams looking really good coming into this. We're talking, of course, Cincinnati and Buffalo. And then we have the Damar Hamlin incident. And that changed everything. It sort of changed the world in many ways. The whole world's focusing on this right now. And then we go from Monday, from the traumatic happenings, to Wednesday, some positive news, and today, unbelievable news that he was actually awake and speaking to his team. And it's just an incredible turnaround. And I don't know what you guys think. It's one of those deals where you can't put it into words, but everything I've read about this guy, he's supposedly a fantastic guy, and you couldn't root for anybody more than Damar Hamlin right now.
Yeah, agree completely. It was a range of emotions for anybody who was at that stadium, for the teams involved, the Buffalo Bills in particular. Just so much going on, and now a lot of positive vibes, and they feel good. They talked to him today. He talked to the team via Zoom. So everything's kind of pointing up. They probably wish they had a few more days still before playing this game. There's a lot of implications, as I'm sure we're going to talk about. But you couldn't ask for at least a more positive attitude right now going into this week.
Yeah, I think he may actually be more coherent than I am today.
I hope.
If I can make the off-color joke there. Ron, I'm going to need you to hold my hand and update what's transpired over the last 24 hours. Or Ted, what the hell has happened the last 24 hours with the cancellation of the Buffalo-Cincinnati game? And what does that mean other than the Bengals getting screwed?
Well, I hope Ron takes this because I woke up late this morning, tried to read up on it, and I'm still a little confused exactly what the story is. I sort of expected this to happen, by the way, because when you knew they were coming down to that the owners were not all agreeing on this and they had to do a vote this morning, you knew it wasn't going to be perfect. So, Ron, what do you read from this at this point?
Well, they have voted. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
a done deal now.
Yes.
So what they're going to do is they're going to have two teams with 16 games and the rest with 17 games. It ends Baltimore's ride to try to get the division there. Cincinnati gets the division, but they voted against this proposal, just to let you know, because it robs them of an opportunity to get the number one seed overall. Now, the only way they can have a neutral site game, as I understand it, is if Cincinnati plays Kansas City in the final matchup, or if they play Buffalo in the final matchup. But based on the fact that Kansas City plays Vegas this week, it almost makes it an exhibition game between Cincinnati and Baltimore in a number of different ways.
Yeah, and I see Chris shaking his head, so I know you guys wanted Baltimore to win that division. How does that come into play? Is it a no play, or because of this? I mean, it should be in some ways,
no,
right?
It'll be a completed play, and I'll be working the corner to pay the bills after this. So
yeah, I'm sure.
as I've mentioned many times, have Cincinnati as well. So I will win a far lesser amount, but I will win money on it because I have both over 2-1 odds. They will count it, I believe, but there will be some things that may not be counted. If you check your book, if you have season win totals, it's going to be really weird because season win totals, even if you've flown over the number or under the number, may not count for two teams in this week.
Yeah, this
Divisional
is sort of,
bets do not have the same 17 game requirement that season win totals do.
right. But this is the subject that we discussed last week, where you got to know the rules of your book, right? And then everyone is a little bit different. Not everyone, but there are variables.
I just think it's fascinating because a lot of these books paid out long ago, and I believe even the books that said they have to play 17 games have already paid out. It's not like they're going to collect the money back on Buffalo and Cincinnati futures. So we'll see what happens with the grading of those.
Other than a strike season, you wouldn't expect this out of the NFL, who tries to play every game, as we know, during COVID. I mean, if they could do it then when COVID was at its height, they're going to do it. It's been, what did I hear, 50 or 60 years since they last, maybe even longer since they last had a game where they canceled. So you wouldn't necessarily have to check your rules on season 10 win totals, but moving forward, you better check your rules on everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You said you've got a fantastic interview with wide receiver from the Patriots.
Yeah, Jakobi Meyers.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what?
That?
Yeah, well, let me give you a little background here. I wanted to get, obviously, anybody from the Bills. I asked for Jordan Poyer, and I totally get it. This week, they were not giving out one-on-ones, especially a couple of days ago when we asked for it. So I thought Myers would have been the perfect guy. He's extremely well-spoken and obviously a DB, just like Damar Hamlin is. So I didn't get anybody from the Bills, but with the Patriots, they gave me their leading receiver, and he is, outside of Matthew Slater, he's probably a top very few good spokesmen for this team. And I got him on the fly. They said you can only get him for a couple of minutes, and it worked out. He was so good. I just want people to know that some of these guys are not just robots. He was extremely thoughtful. And his answers, I thought, were spectacular. So go for it, Chris. Play it. Hey, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
No problem. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, first, very, very encouraging news today on Damar Hamlin. I'm wondering, as an NFL brother, do you know him, first of all, and how you saw this, how it unfolded, and how you're able to process it all?
No, I don't know him personally, but it's a guy that I definitely had to study for and learn about.
Sure.
Since I was going against him, but it really doesn't even matter whether you know the guy or not. Like, just being in the league, it definitely bothered you a little bit just to see a guy go down, knowing his family was watching and a lot of people that care for him was watching. But, I mean, I'm just happy that the prayer's been working and he's getting positive news, and the updates we've been getting are positive and pointing in the right direction. So, I mean, I'm happy that wasn't as bad as it looked on the field. And
sure,
I understand he probably still got a lot to work through, but the fact that he's up and awake and get to see his family, see people who care for him, see all the love he's been getting, all the support he's been getting. I mean, I'm happy for him.
Absolutely. So please tell us how Coach Belichick addressed the club on all of this.
He just explained to us that, I mean, how you kind of got to handle it. It's definitely a very tough situation to just work through and process as a player, a person first and foremost, but just understand that you really got to just stick it out with your teammates and understand that you got a job to do, but still that we are humans and we all really just love each other. We all want each other to be okay. So you can't go out there and play scared. If that's something that you pretty much feel like you can't do, is go out there and play to your full ability or play confident, then you understand. You got to communicate that. So, like I said, it was definitely just tough for everybody to see. And we understand what comes with this business. We understand the risk we take, but anytime somebody go down like that, it affects you a little bit.
Normal practice today?
Oh, yes, sir, definitely. It's still a work week for us.
Well, that's good. We're with New England wide receiver Jakobi Meyers. Congrats on the big win over Miami. We aired that game here on Sports USA. It had to be incredibly satisfying considering you got to win out.
Yes, sir. Nah, it definitely was. We know we needed that one, man. We were talking about it all week. We knew it was on the line, so we just went out there, played our hearts.
So how do you flip the mental and emotional switch from people first to football this week?
Whew, I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the tougher weeks I've had as far as being in the league. Just seeing something like that, and then going on to play, and not just play, but play that team. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, we still know what we have on the line, and we understand that could have been us, but we just got to take advantage of these opportunities. And we know that he loved to play football regardless. Every moment he got to be on the field, I'm sure he appreciated it. So at the same time, that's what we're trying to do with our opportunity.
And once the game starts, it's a game. So what do you think the emotions are going to be like from both sides, specifically from the Bills and the great Bills Mafia?
Oh, I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to be ready to go and just be amped up to. I know if I played on the team, I would want to go out there and have my best performance for him, for the city, for the team, and just for myself, you know. So
yeah,
I'm sure they'll be ready to go. I know we'll be ready to go because we still have a lot to play for, and we have a lot of love on the team. A lot of guys not ready to give up on the team yet, so we know it's going to be a good one, hard-fought one.
Yeah, it's just win, baby, and you're in. So biggest challenge against the Bills from a defensive standpoint facing them.
Oh, man, they work so well when they back in together. Like, their communication, they're normally on point with their communication, and they got a explosive D-line. I feel like they get to the ball. They're bigger guys who can be quick and beat you. They can be strong and beat you. So that's just a really good team. They make you drive it all the way around up the field. You know, they don't really give up the big plays a lot. They make you beat them one play at a time, and that's just something we really have to be locked in. Every play got to be our best execution all the way. It don't matter if it's 15-play drive, 4-play drive. We just got to be locked in the whole way.
Last thing, Jakobi, I think you're a great spokesman for your team. I really do. And I'm wondering, what do you say to mothers and families now who are feeling a little paranoia again about having their kids play the game that you all love? And it's such a freak occurrence that happened to DeMar.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's just there's construction workers who fall off ladders. You know, there's firefighters who get burnt. And we all understand the risk we take when we sign up for our professions. And I hate that. We all hate that it happens, and nobody wants to see it happen. But we happy doing what we do. You know, I'm sure he loves football. I'm sure he probably even still wants to play if he has a chance. Well, I don't know him personally. I'm assuming, but
sure.
We all love doing this, and it's hard when people doubt us at the same time. You know, we still need that love and support. You know, don't look at us like we're crazy for wanting to play this sport. At the same time, still support us and understand that we are humans, and yeah, that affected us, but we still want to provide for our family. So,
like I said, you're a great spokesman for the team. Really, really appreciate your time. Have a great weekend and stay healthy. That's bottom line. Happy New Year to you, man.
I appreciate that. Same to you.
Well, Jakobi Meyers speaking from the heart, and I'm telling you, you could hear the emotion every time he took a deep breath, thinking, "Oh wow, you know, this is coming all back to me again." And he is just spectacular, I thought. And thanks to Bertie for the nice comment there. I appreciate that. Look, bottom line is it's going to be emotional for the entire league, but in this game, you got New England facing the team that all this happened to, and then Buffalo going through a billion emotions with the crowd, with everything. Everybody will be wearing a 3 patch on their jerseys and number 3s everywhere. I know that Josh Allen talked about that, and he said it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere there at Bill Stadium.
Yeah. Speaking about Jakobi Meyers in general, he had to work hard to get to where he is.
Oh, yeah.
He was, not a typical number 1 wide receiver. In fact, he was barely making the team when he came in. I followed his college career since I do the draft, for 40 years or whatever. And I thought he was underrated. I didn't know he would get his opportunity, though, for New England. It's a different system there. You've got to be precise in your routes. You've got to be very detail oriented. You've got to have good hands for the catch. You can't drop anything or you're not going to stay on the field. And he worked his way up the ladder. And I think you could hear some of that in his interview, his dedication. And I'm really happy for him that his career has taken it where it is. And he's a big part of, and he's going to need to be a big part against the Buffalo secondary if they're going to advance to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's a tough place to be right now on offense because they don't have an identity at all. And one of the few teams that are pretty good, but they don't have an offensive identity. They don't have an offensive coordinator per se, and it's a strange set. I mean, they don't have great playmakers on offense, and you got still an evolving quarterback. So it's a weird situation there, and he's doing great. He's their leading receiver.
Yeah. TJ had an off question before we go and talk about the picks of the game. He said the eye in this, about concussions and what will be moving forward, the norm. The eye in the sky has failed us a couple of times this year, with not taking people off the field. I personally think, in answer to that question, that we're going to see a much higher standard of people being removed from the game when hits occur.
Yeah, probably. By the way, from a medical standpoint, I am the furthest thing from a doctor, believe me. But I had recent back surgery, and I was at my physical therapist yesterday. I go twice a week, pretty boring stuff. And she brought up Damar Hamlin. She's knows nothing about football, but it's such a big story. And she says, well, I've followed this a little bit. And she told me, she gave the exact term, whatever the medical term is, that his cardiac arrest and why it happened. And I think people need to know and understand this was an absolutely freakish thing, the timing of it. This was, and as she explained it to me, you had to be hit at a certain angle, at a certain impact, and the exact time of the beat of the heart had to happen. And that beat of the heart is when it explodes and lets all the blood rush out and do its thing throughout your body. And it wasn't a bad hit. And I know T. Higgins is hearing some BS, and it's so ridiculous. It was no different than any football play you will ever see at any time of any game of any season. So I want people to understand there is zero negativity here. It is a freakish thing, and Damar was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it is a miracle that he is back because of the I mean, if this happened 20 years ago, he'd probably be gone. But it's all different now because there's defibrillators and everything right there. And that first responder was unbelievable, including what the coach of the Bills said was the fact that their assistant trainer was on the spot immediately. And that was the difference in life or death.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not making any more comments. I think there's more involved, but
okay.
Well, what do you mean? Like what? I would give you one example.
Ron, do you have a pick on this game?
Wow, you're off the hook.
He's not going to go that way. Yeah.
I
will say this. It should be noted that if New England loses, they still can get in the playoffs. So it's not win, or out, lose or out. If Pittsburgh did lose to Cleveland, played simultaneously, at least the NFL did that right. And if Miami loses to the Jets, New England still gets into the playoffs. Just something to note as the game's going along. I have no pick on the game.
You have no pick?
No.
Well, everybody tuned in for your pick.
The best thing you can do, I don't know how many times I have to say this. I even said it to you offline this week. Do not force a play.
If you don't like it, you don't like it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've been on the Patriots, it seems like almost every game. And unfortunately, my data leans toward Buffalo, but I don't think I'm going to have a play on the game.
Yeah. I don't like to deal with factors other than the X's and O's. And I think we're dealing with factors other than the X's and O's. And I'll just let the game play out.
If there's any game that's dealing with factors other than that, it's this one. There are so many other factors that it's all speculation. Good luck, folks. Anything could happen in this game.
Yeah. On to the next.
All right. Anyway, and by the way, the Bills are that 6-game winning streak, and that's pretty impressive going into this time of the year. And when you think about that, they've only lost once at home all season long. I think there's something to say about that Bills Mafia, and that's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere this week. Our second game on Sports USA coming up will be the Arizona Cardinals at San Francisco. Who gives a damn about Arizona? That's just one of the most disappointing teams of the season. they've lost 6 in a row. They're 1-8 at home this year. That goes to tell you what kind of a team they are. But they're on the road. San Francisco's on a roll. They've won 9 straight. There's still something to play for as we speak for the Niners, but I'm not so sure that they really care about that as much. I think this is going to be, we'll know more, I think, by the second half of that game. Might be more like a third game of the preseason for them, potentially, or what do you think, Ron?
I think we are. I don't know if there's Black Monday in the NFL where coaches get fired. I don't think Kingsbury makes it to Monday.
I think he might get fired at halftime, to be honest with you.
I mean, we've seen coaches fired before the night is over, and I think win or lose, I think that's what's going to happen. Now, the GM is away from the team right now. He's on leave. He had some medical issues and so on. So there's a lot going on in Arizona. But what's not going on in Arizona is performance on the field. And that's the biggest thing. San Francisco, teams like this where they have a supposedly easy game and they're playing for something, but maybe they're not playing for something because Dallas and Philly are playing at the same time. It's easier to take care of business if you're a good running team, because then you don't have to worry about the timing of the pass and the pass blocking and so on. And basically, every time San Francisco runs the ball, who's going to tackle them? I mean, what's the motivation for Arizona moving forward? It's kind of like
one motivation
game.
J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt is the only motivation in that game, his final game as a pro, and he is a leader. He is beloved by everybody. He works his ass off harder than almost everybody. So I think they're going to try and play hard for him. They're going to play a lot harder for him than their coach. Let's put it that way. It may not be close. It may not be close to enough. And by the way, that San Francisco run game, do you really want to use McCaffrey much in this game? I want that guy to be as close to 1,000% as possible when the playoffs start. So I don't know.
Elijah Mitchell is coming back over 5 yards a carry, and he'll get some carries.
Give him the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't overwork him either coming back.
That's true.
It's nice, but a little blend of 2 or 3 guys, and San Francisco probably knows that.
Yep.
The Bills have just announced their radio announcer, John Murphy, had a stroke also.
Oh, geez. Unbelievable.
So a lot of
when it rains, it pours.
Wow, unreal. Well, thanks for checking the news wire while we're on here. Appreciate it, Chris.
Metrically, here's a question for you, Chris. So a win by San Francisco assures them at least number 2 seed, which would mean they would play a home game against either Green Bay, Detroit, or Seattle. And I do see that, the Jacksonville thing I may have gotten wrong if everybody loses and Jacksonville loses to Tennessee. But in this case, I'm pretty sure a win gives them that number 2 seed. If they lose, that's a number 3 seed, and they'll host the Giants, which actually might be an easier game for them. So motivation-wise, as soon as let's say Philadelphia takes a 21-0 lead, what do you think happens with San Francisco the rest of the way?
They bring in their third string quarterback who's already started.
Yeah.
They can't afford to start their third string quarterback. Shouldn't they be starting their 4th string to save the 3rd string for the playoffs?
That was a joke. You didn't get it, Chris. They're already starting their third string quarterback.
I told you I got too much sleep.
And I'm jealous. I didn't get enough. Look, I think San Francisco they don't have a lot to play for. If things work out their way, great. But I wouldn't kill myself to go out of my way to win this game no matter what. This is let it ease into the second half, and whatever happens, happens.
I think if there's one team in the National Football League other than the Kansas City Chiefs that could care less where they play, it's probably San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they mind whoever they play in the first round. If they have to go to Minnesota in the second round, it's in a dome stadium.
Yeah.
Minnesota's power rating wise, at least we've talked about it so many times. Every time they played a team that's been in the upper echelon, they've gotten killed.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't know if if Green Bay wants to go to San Francisco again, they don't have a very good history there in the playoffs.
No, they
No,
don't.
that wouldn't be the best matchup for the Packers.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
If that's assuming they get in, and of course, Chris's Lions have something to say about that so far.
Yeah.
Ron, you had something to say about the referees.
Yeah. So if we're moving off this game, I just want to say a general point about the referees, and it could go one of two ways in terms of this. This was a rough, emotional week for everybody concerned. And now we're going to play football, and we're going to play divisional games where rivals hate each other. Pittsburgh hates Cleveland. This team hates that team or whatever. Every game's a divisional game. My thought is that certain referees, the ones that have more of a tendency to call roughing the quarterback, roughing the passer, the ones that call more defensive pass interference, I think we're going to see a spike in penalty calls this week because they're going to take health and safety very, very carefully. So my advice is the teams that don't dink and dunk, the teams that stretch the field, the teams that are going to throw downfield, look for referee stats, match them to team stats with penalties and name quarterbacks. If you got Aaron Rodgers back and somebody touches him on the shoulder, that might be roughing the passer depending on what referee is doing that game. So I'm just going to make an assumption out there that might backfire, that we're going to see some of these divisional games where there's a lot of passing involved have more penalties. You have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm wondering when they're going to change the verbiage to intimidating the passer or distracting the passer, because roughing the passer isn't what it used to be. That's for sure.
No, well, it's a totally different game, but there's always that strong reaction after anything happens on a health standpoint in the league, and I don't think it's going to be any different. Even though this has nothing to do with DeMar Hamlin and what happened to him, it's just always an overreaction. So, but definitely Week 18. Get ready for the whistles, boys.
Yeah. Some sites will offer penalty props on every game, typically around 11.5 penalties over under. So if you match them up with these situations, I think there's some value there, speaking from a handicapping standpoint and not from an emotional standpoint.
I expect an update on those props when they're posted, Ron.
Okay. No, everybody for themselves. You can look up the penalty stats.
Did you run your FCS simulations?
I ran 2 simulations, and I had to do it twice because I couldn't quite input all the stats from last week. I have the simulation data from before they played their previous game when South Dakota State won pretty handily, and Incarnate Word, in what was a 2-star play for me, gave everything. North Dakota State had to survive that game. Their quarterback was 1 out of 12 in that game, North Dakota State's, and they still survived that game. So I ran it twice. In both cases, the team trailing by double digits had a chance to win at the end, and one did and one didn't. It got really close and really tight at the end. So I'm figuring, wow, so North Dakota State is vulnerable. Then I find out North Dakota State isn't even the favorite in this game. So, that's rare, by the way. This is their 10th title game appearance in the last 12 years in the FCS. They've absolutely dominated that. And they're an underdog of roughly 5.5 points. The simulation says it's going to be close. It's not one of those one-sided affairs like the last 2 simulations I've run where I said, put everything you can on this team or that team or whatever. But I think it's worthy of a play on the underdog in this case, especially an underdog with revenge.
All right.
I can't have them win outright, though, Ron, because I've got plus 150 on South Dakota State to win the championship. So as long as they just cover the 5.
Okay, I'll make a call. But
Okay.
basically, it's simulated twice as a game coming down to the wire.
You listed a bunch of contract incentive type stuff. A good reminder for people there's a lot of incentives for players out there, but the teams that really have to win are not going to do gymnastics to make sure players get their incentives hit. But on some of these lesser known teams, that's the type of situation that the teams kind of rally behind to help their teammate get incentives. Am I right there, Ron?
You're absolutely right. I'm going to point out 5 of them. There's a whole bunch more. Shameless plug, or not shameless plug, but if you follow me on Twitter and you've seen that I have a week 18 article, it goes into detail on a lot of different things, including props and incentives. And week 18 is one of my favorite weeks of the year. Week 1, week 5, when we cross over stats, and week 18 or 17 in the past are my favorites because of all the different variables that are involved. 5 players to talk about. Vegas. Devontae Adams needs 5 catches to get 100. 100 is a milestone in the NFL, even with 17 games. His number's probably not going to be set under 5. You'd have to manipulate it, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to try to get him 5. What else do they have to play for? In answer to what you said, Chris, this is about milestones. A good one, and a game I never thought I'd be talking about, is Houston and Indy. Oh my goodness. And Jerome Boger, by the way, is the ref for that game. So, and I predicted that beforehand. I said, look, he's going to be put in that game because nobody wants him to decide, a game that might have playoff significance. Sorry if any of his family is listening or watching this, but I don't know if he's an NFL ref next year. He's doing this game. Running back Pierce needs 61 yards to reach 1,000. A really good story because he wasn't even the lead back or even the second back to start the year. So I do think he gets to 60 to 1,000. I do think he gets 61 because what else is Houston going to do?
Yeah. By the way, that's a Boger Saturday bowl game. They're both. It might be all over for both of those guys after this game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Same game, unfortunately. Wide receiver Pittman needs 104 yards, which seems like a lot to
That's
get
not
to
a
1,000. But why not try to get him there? If you did an alternate line in that game of 70, 80, 90, or whatever, you could get 3 to 1, 3.5 to 1, stuff like that. So just something to keep an eye on. If they're not going to force feed him if he's got 12 yards at halftime, but if he's getting close, they're aware of that. Why wouldn't they be? And what else are they doing in Indianapolis besides playing out the string in this game?
Well, I don't see Pittman props up yet.
A lot of props won't be up till, and a lot of places won't have these props. You're going to have to go to far and away places to get some of this. Bertie says 2 Jag receivers have big incentives. I think they're playing to win the game, and I've intentionally not going to talk about Jags or any of the playoff teams in this particular segment because I think that's hit or miss. I don't think you can go for that. I've noted them in my article, so you will see them in the article. And thanks to Russell, who's here in the chat, for pointing out the incentives so that I can include that in the article. I kind of go for milestones, and he helped me with the incentives, so I thank him very much for that. But the Chargers have an interesting one. Wide receiver Carter, who was he was needed while Williams and their lead guy, Allen, and they missed several games during the year. Allen missed something like 8 games, and Carter had a lot of yards, and now he needs 55 more for a 250,000 bonus. Why not get him into the game and have him see some action? Because the Chargers basically may not even need the game, especially if you believe the line movement on the Baltimore game, that Baltimore's basically just going to say, okay, we can't win the division. We're done. Chargers would be locked into a seed. I think Carter gets the 55 yards. And then finally, the running back for Atlanta, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce it right. So Ted, help me on this one. Algier, Allgeir.
No, it's actually, make it easy. It's Algier.
Algier. Okay.
Yeah.
He has 900 running yards exactly. Atlanta's a run first team. I think they may make a push to get him to 1,000. 5 under the radar kind of things that interest me a little bit this week. Hope that was helpful.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff. Hey, by the way, speaking of Jeff Saturday, it wasn't that long ago, but does everybody remember the only team that the Indianapolis Colts beat with Jeff Saturday as their head coach?
I'll have to look it up. So
it was his first game. Remember?
Yeah, they got lucky, I think.
The great Las Vegas Raiders lost to him.
Oh, brother.
It feels like 100 years ago, but that's the only win they got. Otherwise, they're
Raiders play up to their competition and down to their competition.
And then you know what? They've been doing that a long time too.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
What else you got? I have one other thing. I have questions for both of you, but you got anything in between?
I'm trying to figure out whether I should take this last 10 on Baltimore that's left. It's down to 9 everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, 10 is too high.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. I already limit bet it, and they didn't move it.
They no respect. Rodney Dangerfield.
How about those Bengals? You know, what's their bounce back this week off that emotional everything?
Yeah.
And they're at home again, right?
Yeah, that makes it really tricky again, and I try to stay away from those games.
Yeah. Again, it's just there's variables that are too strange, and you don't really have a strong feeling how they're going to play out.
Yeah. Okay, I got 3 questions for you guys.
Yeah.
And they're all contract questions, and you are playing GM. You can go in any order.
Okay.
You're the Baltimore GM. Would you pay Lamar Jackson, who's missed so many games, at least $200 million guaranteed?
No. As a matter of fact, I think he is the perfect trade bait right now. There's got to be a handful of really good scenarios for both sides to be able to trade him. And I like him. I like what he does, but I'm not doing that. He's not the kind of quarterback that's giving me something for the long haul. He's already proven the last couple of years. My biggest concern that he's not going to be able to be there for the for the playoffs when you need him to be 100%. I can't trust that.
I love the guy. I think
Me too.
I think he blew it. I think he should have signed that contract for $45 million. I don't think he's going to get $45 million. He's missed half a season 2 years in a row already.
Exactly. Can't do it.
You can't pay this guy. You can't even pay him $40 million.
Nope.
Now, they can franchise tag him.
You know what? You're going to watch him do amazing things for 3, maybe 2, 3, 4 more years, and he's going to be done.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that's why that kind of quarterback is a big problem of the Justin Fields of the world. I mean, he might forget 2 or 3 more years. He might be 2 or 3 more minutes. Justin Fields, and even though he's not the same guy, when you look at Josh Allen, hey, buddy, you better take some of that bulldozer effect out of your game because you're not going to last that long either. You do this.
Yeah, well, they have 2 options. They can franchise tag him, as I understand it, for 1 and maybe even 2 years. Don't quote me on that. Or they can get a Russell Wilson type trade. I mean, if Wilson got, a king's ransom for Seattle, maybe Lamar Jackson gets a king's ransom from a Dallas or somebody like that.
Yeah, by the way, I saw that Mike McDaniel's firing rumor just put up there. I haven't heard that rumor at all. And to me, the only reason he would ever be fired is because, you know what? All of a sudden, Sean Payton wants to show up. Outside of that, I don't even think it's a thought.
I think he's tight with the ownership there. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I heard the rumor, though. I've heard it in more than one place, and it's ridiculous because he didn't have all the tools he needed this year. Still a bad offensive line. Their best defensive player in the secondary didn't play it down this year. I mean,
you had
give
2
a
more
guy a
questions,
break.
Ron.
2 more questions. If you're the Tennessee GM, is Ryan Tannehill on your team and starting in 2023?
Can I have a couple of months to see what I could do better? I mean,
can I phone a friend?
Not with what they have there now. No, I mean, yes, he has to be their quarterback. They don't have anybody better than him now, but they can find somebody better than him. I think
Carr could end up there. I mean,
possibly.
It's a good landing spot for Carr.
And possibly Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. No, that's a good landing spot. But, that you drafted Willis and everybody got excited and everybody said, wow, you got him in the 4th round. What a steal. He was drafted in the 4th round for a reason. He's not ready.
And maybe not for a few years, if ever.
Willis has more of a future on different strokes reruns than the NFL.
Not that Willis. That's a different Willis.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. This is
What
football talk, Chris.
What you talking about, Chris?
What's question number 3, Ron?
No, wait. I said I can ask the audience. Anybody want to chime in? Is Ryan Tannehill on your roster? Audience, speak up. Question number 3. This question is very interesting because 5 weeks ago you might have had a different answer. 10 weeks ago you definitely would have had a different answer. But now, what is your answer? You're the New York Giants GM. Is Daniel Jones your clear number 1 starting quarterback with a new contract in 2023?
No, he is at this point, he is, unless I could do better than him and find somebody better, he gets the 1-year wonderful contract where he's our I can't think of the term right now. It's off, but
bridge quarterback.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say he has earned a spot.
No.
Yeah.
See, this is a tough one.
No, you know what? I don't
one.
think it's tough for the opposite reason.
This is so easy. It's not even funny.
It's not. No, because he's part of the Daboll system. He's doing what he needs to do, and Daboll has got the clamps on him where you're not going to blow games for us this year. Is that what you want for the rest of your eternity? I'm going to get the guy who's not going to screw it up, but he's not going to win for us either. No, that's not what I want.
He has like 5 interceptions and like 15 touchdowns, doesn't he? He's had a great season.
Yes, but that's because they got the clamps on him, which is fine. It's worked, but that's the most they're going to get out of him, I think.
Who does he have to throw the ball to?
Well, that's a problem.
What's up with his offensive line?
Well,
no, I mean, I think
did he have a running back for half the season?
Well, he does now in Barkley.
Yeah, they're all factors, no doubt about it. I don't trust the guy, but I trust him a hell of a lot more than the Jets guy. Whatever that's worth.
No, I just think that people underrate just having a very serviceable quarterback and how valuable that is. I mean, he's got no pizzazz, no flash. He's never going to, be Joe Superstar. But if he doesn't make mistakes and he can follow the system to a T and he can play like he played this year, it's just huge. I mean, he finally has a coach that knows how to use him.
Well, in that respect, that is absolutely true.
So with him, I'm incredibly impressed that he's cut down on his interceptions. I don't care if there's the system or not the system. It didn't matter. The previous coach didn't let him throw more than 2 yards down the field, and he still threw a lot of interceptions and a lot of fumbles.
TJ is right. You put Daniel Jones on the New York Jets, and they are a lock for the playoffs. They've already been in there, probably resting their starters this week.
You know where I disagree with that? Because their head coach is a defensive guy, and I totally disagree with that. Okay? That he would not be doing the same things he's doing with the Giants. It'd be a different thing. Totally.
You know what? You are right. I mean, it is a lot of scheme stuff with the Giants, but
I was overdue to be right, by the way.
This may be our best show because we got agree, disagree. We got some adamant.
That's the way it needs to be. Look, the Jets are a totally different ballgame, and Robert Saleh is really good at some things, but his offense, like in many ways, we're talking about how some teams need to improve their defense. Well, in this case, it's the Jets the opposite. If they don't figure out some kind of an offensive identity, good luck.
Let's see what happens in the playoffs. Daniel Jones will get a chance to start in the playoffs, either at San Francisco or at Minnesota. I think he'd rather go to Minnesota personally.
Yeah, probably.
We went through every single game Tuesday.
Yeah.
And was there anything that stood out that has changed for you on what we talked about since Tuesday?
Lots of things. Do you
want to know
let's
about off. Come on. Money's money.
Let's go.
All right. Well, first of all, I was a little sad at myself for missing the Washington line. I had Dallas at 7. They were 4. I didn't pay attention to it. There was still NCAA going on. I missed it. And now I'm even more upset based on that. So let's get that out of the way right away. I didn't understand why Miami became a dog against the Jets. So I did put in a ticket on Miami at +1 or +1.5 or something like that. And now that line has flipped so many times I can't keep track of it now. And you got Skylar Thompson.
3.5 all morning.
Yeah, but 2 days ago Miami was a dog.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about Skylar Thompson being in the guy now?
What do I think about him? I think
Yeah.
I'll be with the Jets.
Yeah, I'm looking the Jets' way also.
I mean, I think I'll have both sides, and I'm going to root for a 3-point overtime win or something like that. But the value at that time was too much to ask, so I did that. I mentioned on the Tuesday show how I'd be attacking Chicago with third and fourth quarter plays. I've changed my mind. I've not changed my mind on that, but I think we're getting into territory at 8.5 points, whatever you have it right now, that I have to take the Bears maybe for a full game, because has Minnesota really earned the right, even without Justin Fields in the game, to be that big a favorite? What do you think, Chris? Ted?
Well,
I think you're complicating life, Ron, because you've got this teaser phobia.
I'm not teasers, no teasers.
Parlay. Why wouldn't you throw the Vikings in a money line parlay and just move? Go about your business.
I didn't know the Chicago Bears were still in the league, guys. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. The reason why I wouldn't put Minnesota in any kind of parlay is because they don't play shutdown defense. If I'm going to put somebody in a parlay, I want to know that they could stop a team.
What's the line on that game right now?
There already is shutdown defense.
8.5.
The Bears are not going to win that game.
Okay,
it's a draft.
You say so. Now, I did something before the Tuesday show and then you said something that said, "Oh no, I should have thought about that," but it turned out I did okay on it, because I had taken Denver +3, and then you told me that the Chargers may be either the 5th seed or the 6th seed. But I like Denver in the spot anyway, and I already had the 3, and I'm happy with that particular 3.
All right. I'm also wondering, by the way, what do you think of the Cowboys moving forward here? Are they just smoke and mirrors, or I just don't see them as a Super Bowl contender, even though they're NFC issues from a depth standpoint as far as teams are concerned.
I like that T.Y. Hilton edition. I was watching a segment talking about Dallas, and they were showing all these routes that Hilton was running and getting open on, and he was catching, everything that was thrown. That's a nice little addition. That's that should help. I mean, the key is that they've got to get their running game. We all know that if Dak has to throw more than 35 times, they're going to lose the game. So if they can run the ball, they'll be fine.
Yeah, can they do that with that O-line in the playoffs is my question.
One interesting fact about Dallas, who was leading the league in sacks for a long, long time until Philly passed them, they only have, I think, 6 in the last 5 games. So something's happened in terms of their pass rush. Just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that's good.
What did you do on Saturday, Tennessee, Jacksonville? What do you want to share, Chris?
I've layered that game with what did I do? Let me look here. I'm isolating that game ahead of time since it's a standalone game. So I'm splitting what I would have normally bet into multiple wagers. I paired it with the Jacksonville-Seattle parlay, and I did a Jacksonville Kansas City money line parlay when Kansas City was only a 7.5 point favorite. It's a little costly now, but that's what I've done so far, and I'll probably do something else with them also. Just to remind people that weren't here on Tuesday, I stole Ron's thunder, bringing up. I'm sure people have heard it in general, but if you haven't, teams with no reason to win the game facing a team with every reason to win the game are actually winning at over a 60% clip. So be aware of that this week. And
that's
I do want to
covering
make one more comment on this Jacksonville and Seattle games. traditionally in these weeks, you see a lot of value blown out of proportion, where you would see with Jacksonville, where you would see with Seattle. And in both those games, people are saying, oh, well, the lines are too high. The lines are too high. For me, if it was any other week, I'm not showing that they're out of range at all. I think that they should be higher than they are. And I see value. And I know some people think that they're a little too elevated, but not according to my full season metrics.
If I had to pick one or two games that I think the line is elevated for no reason, as far as quarterbacks and so on, I'm looking at my list. I think in some respects, the Philly line is elevated with the expectation that the New York Giants are going to rest everybody in the second half.
I want to take but my number, believe it or not, actually falls at 14. Let's see, what was it?
Yeah,
14.6 is my number on that game anyway. But it feels way overinflated, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a strange game. Are you concerned?
By the way, don't you think the Eagles and Giants will both be resting guys in the second half?
Yes.
There's a great chance of that, right?
Yep.
If Philly has enough of a lead, yes. But
yeah.
Philly was hoping not to be playing anybody this week, but they lost their last 2 weeks and put themselves in they don't want to be as low as the 5 seed.
Right.
That would be a real problem.
That was a crazy thought.
I thought Jacksonville line would go to 7 a lot faster, and instead it ticked down, and now it's back at 6.5, touching 7. I just have a concern.
6 at circa right now.
Yeah, I just have a concern for those who are taking Jacksonville straight up, that this is going to be a closer game than people think. And I mentioned it on Tuesday. I will probably take a little stab at +7.
The big Joshua Dobbs factor.
I think the Jaguars will win the game, and I think the Seahawks will win the game. If one of those, it's not going to shock me if either of them lose, but I think that they'll both skate by through. I wouldn't want to be laying the points needlessly. I'd like to use them into different bets if possible, but I think they'll win.
Yeah. I still think a strategy to use is take a look at the third and fourth quarter lines, read the local newspapers, go on the sites that we've mentioned before, Sports Spider, other sites like that, where you can get the local news stories all in, you could get 20 stories just feeding down the line, the local stuff. Find out what they're thinking and what they're going to be doing in third and fourth quarter and see if you get value.
The Cleveland-Pittsburgh game is really fascinating. It was down to a 1.5, 2 this morning, and now it's getting some love again. It's almost back up to 3. You got any thoughts on that game, Ronald?
I would venture to say that I'll probably have a play on Pittsburgh under 3, just for the sake of the fact there's a coaching mismatch. I think Watson's getting more in rhythm, but do I trust him? He hasn't had to win a game with a game on the line yet. There's just something about Pittsburgh. They play hard. They have a history, no matter where they are, of playing hard in the last week of the season, every single year.
Well,
and they're 7-2 with TJ Watt in the starting lineup.
Yeah, and they do have something to play for besides the fact, they do want to have that above 500 record for Tomlin.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Does he have a history of being over 500?
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, something like that.
So, Ron,
I've heard that a million times.
Just like the Lions.
Ron, if you quit wasting all your time on all these media appearances, you would have had the 2 that's now no longer there in the Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, well, I'm making billions off this, so
yeah, right.
Just sharing some stuff. That's all.
So refresh my memory with why is Baltimore playing to win?
Why is
they'll
Baltimore
get the 5 seed and they'll play. If Baltimore wins, they play the winner of the Jacksonville game. That's their incentive.
Not if the Chargers win.
The Chargers are ahead of Baltimore?
Check that out for me.
Chargers are 5 seed right now.
They are?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'll look them up while you guys are talking.
Everybody's
Look
just
it up
guessing.
while we're talking. The
Come
5
on,
seed
somebody in
goes
the
to
audience.
Jacksonville.
Help these guys out.
I'm going off of what I read in the postgame show last Sunday. I'm trying to remember. Oh, wow.
Yeah, when you're playing for seeds like a 2 or a 3 or this or that, you're locked into a road game or you're locked into a home game. I can tell you for a fact that it carries no value against the spread. It's just not the same motivation as winning in, losing out kind of thing.
Okay, my memory's good.
Yeah, they're
Chargers,
tied.
Chargers are the
Chargers
5
are
seed.
good. So if Baltimore wins, then the Chargers have to win.
Right. Which complicates my Denver play, but even then, and they're going on the road anyway. They're either going to Jacksonville or probably to Buffalo.
I think I'd
Well,
go
Buffalo
to
is so
Jacksonville.
nice this time of year. You'd probably want to go there.
It's actually supposed to be decent weather this week.
Yeah.
It is.
It's week to week, that's for sure.
Day to day.
So here's a general question. Obviously, Ted, you're Sports USA. You're not going to do any playoff games or whatever, but we need you
over
still.
after Sunday. Yep.
How do you guys approach the first round of the playoffs? Do you treat your handicapping any differently?
Well, I think you have a health factor at this time of the year where you're looking for the must-win situation is back finally for everybody. And I love that. There's all these week 15, 16 games where you have a little bit of iffiness, and now it's all gone. So in that respect, you do. But overall, if they're matchup situations, there's weather situations that are not going to be there more than a month ago. So, I mean, they're all big factors, aren't they?
What do you got, Ted? Chris,
Ted.
How do you approach it? When sudden victory in the playoffs.
Well, I was just looking at my postseason record, and it's not as good as my regular season record. So, I haven't been approaching it too much differently. But I'm not getting I have not gotten as positive of results in the postseason as I have regular season. Although 2020 was good.
I have situations that work first round of the playoffs. So I abide by those. And then after that, I tend to be more of a bystander because the lines are so tight after that. And we saw last year, every game came down to the wire anyway.
Instead of just volunteering with those situations, you're going to make us ask. So what are those situations?
Yeah, I was going to ask too. Thanks, Chris.
Jeez.
It's not time for the playoffs. We'll see.
If you were a chick, I'd have to open up the car door for you.
Nope, sorry. Sorry, you don't get that. But in answer to Bertie's question, I'm not interested in the first half at all in the Atlanta game against Tampa. Tampa hasn't started fast in many a game anyway. They've relied on Brady in the last 5 minutes of every game, and Brady won't be in the last 5 minutes. So I would still look at pre-kickoff, third and fourth quarter Atlanta plays.
Is it true that Brady needed the first round bye so he can look for a new house in Las Vegas? I heard a rumor about that.
The first round bye?
No, in all seriousness, shouldn't he hang it up? It sounds like he's thinking about coming back. I think he should hang it up.
I don't know if you should. It depends where the situation. But look, Vegas looks like a realistic possibility to me.
And
really
Ron, you're losing your 8s on your Bears. So if you have an 8, you better bet it now. It's just too late. All these media appearances are costing you.
Yeah, I say something and the line moves. I'm getting famous, huh?
Go away. So yeah, the Bears just got hit. They're down to a flat 7.
I have to check my lines like Chris does as we're going through. I see some 7.5s.
Yeah, you go to Bet Online. They've got one. FanDuel is the best 7.5 right now.
There's value on the Bears, but can you really trust anything with that team this week? They don't have to win, obviously, but they've lost 9 straight in just the stupidest ways.
I think
there's more value on the third and fourth quarter than the game, so I wouldn't go heavy on the game, even with an inflated line. Another avenue, as long as I'm sharing stuff, is the game's going to go fast in the third and fourth quarter with all these subs. Preseason games tend to go under, maybe third and fourth quarter unders or something to look at as well.
Or second half unders.
Second half under.
Yeah. Makes sense. What else, boys?
I'm done.
I'm really done.
Do you think Tampa Bay has any chance whatsoever?
No.
To do what?
To win a Super Bowl? No.
Yeah.
No, they might win a first round game possibly, but things got to go their way. But no. I mean, their offensive line is screwed up really bad right now.
I mean, they would need San Francisco and Philadelphia to play each other, and one of those two gets knocked out.
Yeah, the problem for Tampa is they're incredibly one-dimensional. Even though they have Leonard Fournette and he runs his 3.4 yards per carry, and the other, overall the team rushes for probably less than 100 yards per game. I don't have the exact figures.
Yeah, but Byron Leftwich says we're just being emotional by thinking that they don't have the offense that they have. He says they have a great offense.
Oh, the Byron Leftwich, the former definite head coach who's now not even thought of anymore.
Do the math. 16 games, they have 1,222 rushing yards. That's last in the league.
Yep.
Yeah, but they're 11th in scoring or something. On some offensive stat, that's what Byron Leftwich said.
I think that's all in the fourth quarter, though, this year.
Yeah. All right, I'm out of bullets. Unless you guys have any more bullets.
I just want to say thanks to all the viewers out there for the entire season. 18 weeks of this. I can't believe you put up with us. But it was a lot of fun. I'm going to miss doing my games because we don't do the postseason. We only do the regular season. So, no, we don't plan on doing this during the playoffs. But maybe we'll, I don't know. It's up to you guys if you want to squeeze one in here or there. I'm open.
Ron and I have will be unavailable Tuesday for our Tuesday show. So we're letting,
Yeah, I will be in your neck of the woods in Las Vegas next week. So I'll be on the road.
All week?
No, just middle of the week.
Okay. Well, then maybe Friday. What do you think? Friday, guys, we want to do something set up the next weekend?
I think one way or another we could do something on Friday, just talk a little bit about it. But check your local stations and see.
Your local stations. Good luck with that.
We appreciate everybody joining us, and hope they appreciate our completely informal format. And
yes, very informal.
We were nominated. Guinness contacted me because we spent, out of all the podcasts in the industry, we spent the least amount of time talking about ourselves or promoting something to sell.
Oh, you mean my book?
Oh, shit.
I would never mention that. The final podcast of the year. Touching Greatness is the book, folks. By the way, Sports USA doing hockey. We did the Winter Classic on the 2nd. Our next broadcast, February 18th. There's Wayne Gretzky on the cover there. February the 18th is the outdoor game as well, the Stadium Series game from Carolina.
Well, we might do some hockey this season.
That'd be fun. In the playoffs again. That'd be good.
All right. Thanks again, everybody.
See you guys. Happy New Year. All the best.
Good luck this week.
We can use it.
Bye-bye.